So now that we're familiar with the Confluence environment and navigating each and every page in our space, we can start documenting stuff. And to do that, we're going to start by creating a page, which is going to go up here to the top left with a little plus sign, create, or the letter C on your keyboard. Now, Confluence will give you a bunch of template documents you can choose from, like blog post, how-to article. I recommend the blank page almost every time. When you get more familiar with Confluence, feel free to dive into the other ones, but blank page is almost always your best bet. Once we create our blank page, first thing we have to do is make a title. So titles are a little bit weird in Confluence because each page in the space, so everything in the Endurance card space, has to have a unique title. So if I just choose documentation, it's not a great title name because almost everyone, when I say everyone, every subsystem is going to want to use documentation as a name. So we should call ours maybe like test documentation, which again isn't great because test documentation is probably a very popular name, but for now we'll keep it okay. We'll keep it like this. So next thing you want to do is make page layout. And this, it doesn't really like, it does affect your page layout, but it's not like the entire page layout. It makes your page into sections. So if I make this one, it's a full width section, and I can type whatever I want, so like heading, title. I can label that, and then I can add a section below it. And let's say I do 2 columns, and this is like where the page layout really comes powerful. If you want to do it in one column, and like if you want to do it in one full-length section and make 2 columns, it's really hard, and the formatting gets really, really crazy when you want to change anything else. The formatting gets thrown off. So you want to do it in 2 columns here using the section editor or page layout, its proper name. And this one can be like several lines long, where this one's only 1. And then the next time you add a section, it starts at the bottom of the tallest of the columns. So it organizes your work really well. And having organized documentation really increases the effectiveness of the documentation because no one spends hours looking for what they want to find. If it's organized properly, using the page layout, they can find exactly what they need right away and get back to doing the engineering. So the next cool item that Page Editor is really powerful with is the table maker. So it's made a 4x3. This we'll call this like column 1, and then you can even hit tab to switch over columns. C2, tab, C3, and so on. And then let's say it was like blah, 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 blah in here. What's really powerful though is using these table editing up here. So it's got your classics, so your add row below, add row above. You can add columns over here, left and right. So I'm currently selecting in this 4th column, this one. I can then cut this column, or cut this row, sorry. Cut row, and then if I paste it, it'll go above where my cursor is. Paste it above it. Now, it's a really powerful tool. You can copy and paste, not just cut. You can do the same thing for columns too. The next really cool part of the table editor is this heading row. So it defaults the first one to be a heading row. You can also do heading columns. And what it does is it grays it out and also makes the text bold in that row. So using this to its full potential, you can see this in the safety space where Natalia, our safety officer, made this in one table, this here. And so the first row is the heading row with 3 columns. And the next row, she merged all 3 cells, made it the heading row, so electrical, and then this is all the electrical safety documentation. And it's really easy to see her next heading row separates the carbon and composite safety documentation from the electrical safety documentation. So it's a really powerful tool. And again, making your documentation super easy and efficient to read, making it really easy to find the data everyone wants. Some weird things about the page editor in Confluence is they don't have like a correct font sizer. They have like 8 fonts to choose from, and you just not like doesn't go like 12 point, 13 point, 14 point font. It's like heading 1. So heading 1, like it's good. They're all good. Use it to really highlight obviously headings when you need to. Paragraph's probably gonna be the most used one, and that's the one it defaults to. Anytime you start typing, it'll default to paragraph. So just be mindful of that. And then everything else is also pretty self-explanatory. Bold, italics. This one's color, know that. Bullet points, numbered list. This one's kind of cool. It's a task list. So if I'm in here, I hit like enter task list and then like typing. It's a little box so you can check it. Only thing though is I always forget to come back and check the box after I did the task. So just be mindful of that if we're going to use this one, the task list thing. Again, everything else is super self-explanatory. Here's how you add links. You can insert links to web pages and files and PDFs. Like anything you can link it through this button. Last thing you got to do is you have to publish it. Right now, it's not in Confluence yet. It's like only we can see this document. So if I publish it, now everyone can see it and anyone else can go edit it, and we can collaborate at the same time, working on it at the same time, just like Google Docs. So you want to publish it every time so that everyone else can see it. It's no good if only you can see the document. Last thing we want to do to this, let's say this test document, we didn't want it floating right here in the open as a subpage of the space. We wanted a subpage of, like, let's say arrow. So we wanted it to go in somewhere in here. Really easy to do. 3 dots in the top right hand corner up here. Click it, and then view and hierarchy. And this gives you the hierarchy of pages in the entire space. So here's the space, and then here's all like the main pages. Here's the one we just made, test documentation. Let's say I want to put it in arrow. I can open this up, and then open arrow up, and then scroll down and find the page I'm looking for, test documentation. Drag it up, and just put it right in arrow. Or I can even like hold it over, and it'll open it up for me, which is pretty sweet. So I can put it right there in arrow. And there it is. But now, let's say I didn't want to do that, and I actually want to put it like in the where it was before. I can just move it back, and then no harm just happened. It just went back to where it was, which is pretty sweet. Having your organization, like I said earlier, in documentation is key, so that you can efficiently find any and all documentation, any like information you want about the project. So organizing placement's huge, and then also on-page organization is big, both with that page layout tool and the table tool. That's pretty much the basics of creating a page. Next time we'll go a little deeper.